Okay, we're calling this meeting to order. We have quorum. Jackie, was the agenda posted by the
Yes, it
Torrance
was.
City Clerk?
Yes, it was.
Great. And then item 4, Brown Act Declaration.
We can just have a motion to approve that this is following the state of emergency that was declared by the governor, and it is still considered unsafe or prudent to hold the meeting virtually.
I
Move
so
to
move.
approve.
Second.
Second.
Hey, did you get that?
Yes. Any opposition?
Excellent.
Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
Great. Jackie, any changes to the agenda?
Yes, we have two things that I'd like to add to the agenda. The first is under the Legislative Committee. I forgot to put in exploring a regional housing trust fund, and there is a memo that was sent to you separately on that. So that would be under Legislative Committee. And then under 9A, which I think is the Metro report, we have a letter that, we have a letter in support of Metro staff's recommendation to allocate $75.2 million for law enforcement services. So that letter will also be in the chat. So if we can
Okay,
add those to
great.
the
Thank you.
agenda.
Excellent. Okay, public comments. Anyone wishing to address this board?
There were no
No?
public
Okay, good.
comments received yet.
Great. Thanks, Natalie. Okay, consent calendar. Anyone like to
Moved.
pull anything from consent? No. I had a motion to approve. Who was that? Was that Rodney?
Gaisley.
Gaisley, Jim, thank you. Where are you,
Michael,
Jim? We
second.
don't see you.
I have a question. The two new
Yes.
items, where are they coming up? Are they separate approval items or are they under some other, are they under consent?
They're under the Legislative Committee and under the Metro report. They are not on consent.
Okay, got it.
Good. So we have a first and a second. Let's do a, Dave, do you have it noted who the first and the second was?
I have the first. Who was the second?
Tanaka.
Tanaka. Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Okay. Any opposition to approving the consent calendar? Any abstentions? Thank you.
All right, moving along to presentations, Jackie.
Now, the first presentation is Lindsay Laster, who's going to give the brief SPA 8 planning report. And I know she's here. I saw her. There you are, Lindsay. It's all yours.
Good evening, everybody. Hi, good evening again. I'm Lindsay Laster. I'm the Senior Public Health Analyst. I'm from the Department of Public Health. And as usual, we wanted to just provide, or we, meaning myself and then my colleague Nancy's on here, I want to just provide some quick updates about our work in the SPA area 8 area and just a quick COVID update as we try to do. As everyone's aware, the 5 to 11-year-old COVID vaccine has, thanks Nancy for putting that up, has started rolling out. We have continued to increase the number of providers who are able to provide the vaccine to children. That's been rolling out smoothly. Obviously, there's always kind of hiccups here and there, but we've had a lot of good feedback about our different sites where we actually are providing the vaccine. We have a lot of kid-friendly areas in our different pods, and so that's truly been helpful. Where we've had a lot of positive reaction. I think that kind of real focus of trying to bring the vaccine in a positive light to families has been helpful. So we continue to push it. The vaccine, obviously, we want those who are unvaccinated to get vaccinated, and those who need a booster to get their booster shot. Masking is still recommended, especially out in public in the areas, since we still have people who are unvaccinated. So that's a quick update about COVID. Moving on. Oh, and then as the holiday comes in, because COVID does continue to be an issue, we are recommending people to, if they are going to have gatherings, to have them outside of as much as possible, open air, ventilation, and if you are going to have things indoor, keep those still small and wearing masks as much as possible. So there you go. Next slide, Nancy. So what I wanted to do really quick was to share just some of our work. As we're always saying, what are we trying to do in the community, or what do we do in the community to kind of give you all a good idea. So we are community health workers, have been doing a lot of work around COVID, and currently we have the Community Health Worker Outreach Initiative, where we've actually hired on additional community health workers to really get the message out in the communities about vaccines, where they're located, where they can go get the vaccine, and trying to really promote and educate around the COVID vaccine so that people are more willing to get it. So what we've done is use our epidemiologists and our Office of Health Assessments to really identify those key areas, communities, and cities around the county to identify those hotspots where we see low numbers of vaccination uptake. And in spot 8, we want to highlight Lawndale, and I'll show you the next city in the next slide. But basically, we've honed in on this particular area, and you've seen in this slide, where our community health workers have gone door to door, as well as reaching out to businesses to really focus in, talk about the vaccine, the efficacy of it, why people should get it, and the safety of it. And then linking them to reaching out to any of our nurses to talk to if they have more questions, but really trying to bring in the message of getting the vaccine. So we've been doing that in the city of Lawndale. And Nancy, if you can go to the next slide. And as well as, and you can see kind of in the map where they've been going. We'll share the slides as we always do with you all, but and also in the city of Gardena. So really trying to focus in on those areas where we know there's been low vaccine uptake. So we continue to provide the vaccine, a presentation around the vaccine, around COVID. So if any of you would like to have that for your cities, your communities, or any community-based partners that you know of, please reach out. Our health educator, Tyla Jones, will coordinate that through either herself or some of our physicians if you need a physician to come out. So we really, or to do it virtually. We can do it both ways, virtual or in person. But if anyone's still interested, we are definitely still doing that. And our mobile vaccine teams are available to come out into different areas. So please, we continue to make that a big effort. Yes, I see your hand raised.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Lindsay. What are you seeing in spot 8 as to the case rate, hospitalization rate, and death rate?
Well, I actually was looking at the death rate, but I was looking at the county-wide. So our numbers have somewhat stable, but I will get a little more specific to what spot 8 has been coming out with as far as those 3, the death rate, hospitalization rate, just because I don't have them per spot right now. But that's something I can easily get. We have seen that the numbers are a little more, they're not fully trending up, but we do see some ticks. Thankfully, we're not seeing a tick up, but we're not seeing that same surge or increase in numbers as we saw last year after the Halloween holiday. So we're actually quite relieved that this year it's actually staying pretty consistent, pretty stable. But I think that's a great question to ask so that we know a little more closely about spot 8. So I'll get that and I'll send that to you all in the next day or two. Thank you for asking that. Sorry. So yeah, thank you, Nancy. This is just a quick reminder about that we do have the website available for folks who still need to get connected about what's going on with the Dominguez Channels odor event. It is improving. I believe Mr. Hicks was provided a response from Department of Public Works last week. So little by little, we'll try to keep bringing information to you all, but just wanted to share that this website is still existing, and if people want to join social media for more current updates, that they can. Next slide, Nancy. This is just something else to share with you all. So we are starting up our Parks After Dark events. This is actually in celebration of winter and just trying to bring people back out to the parks. So this year, we're just having one night event at our parks. These are our county parks, and this will be happening at Helen Keller Park on December 11th. There'll be a fun-filled event for all the kids. We Public Health will be providing information about COVID, obviously flu as well, and different other public health topics. Some fun events at these Parks After Dark events will be, I think, snow days where they're going to have a snow area. They'll be doing holiday crafts, so please share this out. This will be included in the slides that I send to you all, but please inform any of your residents about this great event that will be happening on December 11th. Next slide, Nancy. And I'm sure most of you have seen, many of you have seen that we do have low counts of blood in our supply. I'm not sure that it's how far it goes, but definitely countywide. And we at Public Health have been trying to do our best where we can to try to provide some opportunities for folks to come and donate blood. We're going to be hosting a blood donation event on December 23rd at our Curtis Tucker Wellness Community or Center for Community Wellness. If you can please share with for folks to come on out and do blood, to donate their blood, that we would really appreciate it to help to get the numbers up. And you can schedule an appointment here, going to the links here. And again, this will be in the slides that I sent to you all. And I believe that might be our last slide. Yes. So again, just a quick recap about things that we're doing. Any other questions? And I still definitely will owe you the data on those 3 points.
Lindsay, just send the data to me and we'll get it out.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jackie.
I have a question, Lindsay Bernadette from Lawndale. I was wondering if I could connect with you. I'm interested in hearing about your outreach for our city.
Oh, that'd be
So I
great.
don't know if
Yes.
Maybe someone can forward my info to you.
That'd be great. Yes, we definitely can.
Thank you.
And what we can do, I know what we're doing is essentially kind of just seeing these hotspots and going out, but I would gladly maybe reach out to Jackie before we go out into these communities or as we're going into these communities. I'm not sure how quickly we know ahead of time, but to share out when we're going to be in the community in case that would help for you all to link in with us, or maybe it even helps us to kind of get our foot in the door with some of the businesses. So we can definitely keep working on this, but thank you so much. Appreciate that, Bernadette.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, all. I really appreciate your time and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
Thank you, Ms. Lastra. Okay, next up, we have the Drought 2021. We have the president of West Basin Municipal Water District, Harold Williams.
Hi, good evening, everyone. On behalf of West Basin Municipal Water District, I greet you all in the spirit of water reliability, water use efficiency, and in the spirit of making water conservation a California way of life. To Chair Boyle and members of the board and Executive Director Jackie Backrack and guests. It is my honor to be here tonight to speak with you about the current state of California's drought emergency and what we can do together to reduce the region's water demand and build a sustainable future. I'm Director Harold Williams, and I help lead the West Basin Municipal Water District. I am chair, or you might say president of the board. With me tonight is E.J. Caldwell, who is the interim general manager of West Basin, who will be doing a great deal of the talking tonight, at least at first. But we invite your comments and questions in profusion at the end of our presentation. Next slide, please. I'm sure you are aware that West Basin has a clear mission to provide safe and reliable supply of high quality water to the communities we serve, which includes each city that's represented here tonight. Next slide, please. This map highlights West Basin service area, which includes 5 governing divisions covering 17 cities and unincorporated portion of LA County along the coastal LA County, as you can see on the map. Believing in the one water concept, we also serve recycled water to our partners, the cities of Los Angeles and Torrance, as well as water replenishment to the Water Replenishment District of Southern California. Next slide, please. Elected and representing these 5 divisions are 5 boards of directors, including yours truly, representing Division 1. Director Gloria Gray, representing Division 2, and Desi Alvarez, representing Division 3, Director Scott Houston, representing Division 4, and Don Deere, representing Division 5. As a member agency of the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, we have West Basin, we have 2 directors on the board of directors, including yours truly and Gloria Gray, who is the chair of the Metropolitan Water District. Next slide, please. Now that you know a little bit about West Basin, Mr. E.J. Caldwell will now tell you what West Basin is doing to prepare for a dry future. Mr. Caldwell.
Yes, thank you very much, President Williams. And if you could turn to the next slide. I'll begin by just showcasing that this is the current status of our region's water supply. And it obviously varies in each of our cities, but comprehensively, if you look at the entire West Basin service area, this is what it looks like. And when you hear it, and I'll talk a little bit about it tonight, when you hear people talking about 15% reductions and where they're going, it's really important to note that Governor Newsom utilizes a 2020 baseline. And so there's no better time than us to prepare our 2020 urban water management plan, because that is the current baseline set by the governor. Whether that's fair or not, I'm not exactly sure, because I can showcase here all of the great work that our communities have done. You can see that imported water is still 57% of our total supply. And obviously that comes from the State Water Project and the Colorado River. But that next portion there is conservation. And that represents 19% of our supply. And if you go back to 2000, when West Basin Municipal Water District really started pushing and funding conservation, that's a significant decrease. We now utilize about 37,000 acre feet of water less per year just through conservation alone. In addition to that, we have about 14% offset by recycled water. And of course, we can talk about that a little bit here, but that's our purple pipe that goes to several of your cities, as well as recharges a sustainable supply of groundwater. And then of course, as I just mentioned, groundwater, 10% roughly of the region's water supply. Obviously LADWP and of course, the city of Torrance also utilize a great deal of recycled water. But the good story here is that you all deserve a pat on the back. Our conservation, that's a significant portion of water since the year 2000 that has been invested in. We see that year in and year out. So as we continue to make changes in our water usage, we're going to continue to see that grow, and you'll see that imported water supply shrink. Next slide. So this is what everybody's talking about. Obviously, we are in a significant drought. There is no doubt about that. Every portion of California is deeply impacted. You can see the whole center portion of the Central Valley outside of the coastal area in that dark red. And you can see obviously where the West Basin service area is in the Santa Monica Bay. And you can see that portions, if you go up into the furthest northern portion of the Santa Monica Bay, they are truly hit by this drought. But of course, the entire service area has been devastated by this drought. And we're going to continue to work on this. But you can see just below that, and I point this out because when you talk about Orange County and you look at San Diego County, it's an interesting dynamic down there. What they've done is they've invested a great deal of money in water resources. They have what's called the Imperial Irrigation Transfer. So they're actually pulling water out from inland through a Colorado River transfer. They also have an ocean water desalination facility. And then they have a lot of water recycling efforts, including their San Diego Pure Water down there. Next slide. And if you can click, because I think there's animation here on this slide that just shows you. I'm sure most of you are well versed in this, and when COVID allows us to, we will with Metropolitan Water District and of course our Metropolitan Water District directors bring these tours back, because they do such an amazing job of actually taking you up through the State Water Project and showing you exactly what California does in order to bring water down through the 444 miles of aqueduct down into Southern California. And you can just see how interesting it is as far as the way they developed it. But you can also see that it's just going to take one incident for us to really be impacted and unable to bring our supplies down to Southern California. If you can click again. And this is, of course, our second source of water, the Colorado River Aqueduct. It was constructed by Metropolitan Water District with the sole purpose of actually bringing water down here into Southern California. And this is why, of course, most of your cities have joined West Bay Municipal Water District originally, is because you wanted access to that water. Next slide. So when I talked a little bit about the State Water Project there and where it originates, this is where it originates. This is Lake Oroville. And you can imagine how this would look if it was full. This is our first reservoir where we bring water down here to Southern California. Obviously, there's no boating going on this year, but you can just see how delicate it is. And to point this out, if you can imagine, usually people are boating on this lake and it's beautiful and it's filled to the brim. People drive across that bridge up there. But in just 2018, you might recall that we had so much snow and so much precipitation that this dam basically crumbled under the pressure, and they had to release water and actually evacuate more than 10,000 people because California has this, what they would call the big gulp, little sip, big gulp. That's how we bring water down from Northern California. When we have a lot of precipitation, we try to bring it down and store it. But when we have very little, this is what it looks like. And this is why we need to plan for that. Next slide. So this is the second aspect of this issue that we're facing. I mentioned our water comes from Northern California through the State Water Project. This is the second source of that water. This is Lake Mead. And we are at not just a crucial point in history, but we are at a point that we've never seen before. They've actually declared just this past couple months, they declared the first drought shortage on the Colorado River ever. And obviously you saw national news about this. The state of Arizona and those with lesser rights actually had to take cuts from their Colorado River water usage. And of course, California is as a if you want to look at the anchor customer of the Colorado River, we do remain whole, but only for so long. Next year, they do anticipate that we will step into stage 2 and California will need to make cuts. But I point this out because I don't know if most of you are aware of this. If you have a green thumb and you like to garden, you probably noticed this within your plants, because usually we blend our State Water Project with our Colorado River water. But right now, we actually have a zero draw off the State Water Project. So our customers, our cities are getting 100% Colorado River water, which will have a little bit more TDS. It'll be a little bit saltier. So if you're looking at your plants and you're growing fruits and vegetables, you'll start to see those little gray water spots from the salts and minerals in that water. Next slide. So I just mentioned this, a 0% initial 2022 State Water Project, a water shortage, and then of course the shortage declared on the lower Colorado River basins. They are negotiating those settlements now as far as how they divvy up the Colorado River water. And the reason they do this is because they recognize that when all of the Colorado River states don't have enough supply, something must be done. So it's important that Metropolitan Water District, through the leadership of Director Gloria Gray and Harold Williams, they're a big part of that as far as working with all of those Colorado River states. Next slide. So what's been the response and the reaction to this? And of course, you start to see things transpire in Sacramento and of course, locally in the county and each of our cities. And I wanted to include some information here because things progress so quickly that we wanted to give you the latest information. Next slide. So in July, the governor did reduce the statewide water use by 15%. That is a voluntary reduction that he has called for. It is achievable, I will tell you that. I think that we can get there, but in the areas that have been investing in conservation like West Basin has, and as your cities have invested in, it gets a little bit more difficult. Your water demand becomes hardened. Then, of course, in July 2021, West Basin entered into its water shortage contingency plan. With the leadership of our board, we stepped into a level 1 declaration. And then shortly thereafter, Metropolitan Water District issued a water supply alert. And this was the last two items are the ones that we've been waiting for. In October, Governor Newsom declared a drought declaration throughout the state of California. Southern California, if you looked at that map, you saw that San Diego didn't really have that, and portions of Southern California were kind of lighter red. But there we had it in October. It's been declared throughout the state. And then just this month, a Metropolitan Water District issued a regional drought declaration that would actually instruct its member agencies to do anything and everything that we can to reduce our water demand. And it is important to note, and I want to reiterate this, that at this time, all of the reduction requests are voluntary. But I do believe it is the duty of West Basin Municipal Water District and part of our mission to help achieve that. Next slide. So what comes with Metropolitan Water District's actions? They've asked us to review our past drought response measures, including back in 2009, where they went into a water shortage allocation plan, and there was actually a reduction required. They've asked us to adjust operations to reduce use of Northern California. I mentioned that to you already. West Basin was a big part of that. We actually moved over to 100% Colorado River water. And then they've asked us to implement conservation measures to reduce our demand on MWD supplies. And I'll talk about our conservation programs, and I'll talk even more so about what you all can do to help us with that. But West Basin, I think, is a leader in water use efficiency and conservation. So I think we're ahead of the game there. And then Metropolitan Water District specific actions are to work with its member agencies, develop a unified regional messaging. I'll talk about that. Expand regional conservation programs, implement measures to ensure supply reliability during the drought, and seek state funding to support expanded conservation programs. Next slide. So when we entered into our water shortage level 1, this was the quote from our president, that even though our current urban water management plan shows that West Basin water resources are reliable for the next 25 years, even in multi-year droughts, there is a sustained need to use water wisely, considering our naturally arid and changing climate conditions. Water saving actions today will help to alleviate demand and stress on our current water supply reserves. And I can't stress that enough. He hit the nail on the head there. We have to do what we can to help out the rest of the state of California. Next slide. So I included this slide because I wanted to showcase something I kind of anticipated that I might get some questions about different types of water supply that West Basin might provide. If you look at our urban water management plan, which is required to be prepared every 5 years, it is a look at our 25-year supply. It does look at the entire service area, so projects out growth in population and what that demand might be. And then it looks exactly at every single type of supply. And again, through our leadership of the board of directors, they asked us to look at what's real and then project out. So when we looked at the models of the water supply that we have, we looked at exactly what we had and exactly what we know we can do. So it focused in on 25 years of meeting our demand with imported water, recycled water, groundwater, and conservation. So that mix of those 4 supplies, if you look at that document, that's exactly how we intend to meet our demands. Now there's an opportunity or other opportunities for us to invest in other things. But if you look at that document, it's about how we can meet the goals of our future with what we have and what we think we can do. Next slide. So water recycling. I think you're all familiar with West Basin when it comes to this issue. Next slide. We're well known throughout the state of California, but even nationally, internationally, really, because we have what's basically one of the initial potable water recycling facilities where we produce water that you can drink straight from our water recycling facility that we place in the ground. It's local, reliable, and drought resilient. We're actually discharging a lot of wastewater out into the ocean as we speak. So our ability to maximize that water will make our communities more resilient. It supports regional industries. We do have a large industrial portion of the South Bay, the city of El Segundo, the city of Carson. There's a great deal of industrial usage, as well as the city of Torrance. And so we try to maximize the use of recycled water at those industrial facilities. It uses significantly less energy than imported water, so that's obviously important. It improves ocean water quality, and it protects from our groundwater basins from seawater intrusion. Next slide. This is really our ultimate goal is obviously conserving water, but we couldn't have done this without our communities, without our board of directors really pushing us. West Basin has achieved this milestone of 225 billion gallons of recycled water. If you can imagine, you're talking 326,000 gallons. That's basically for 4 houses of 4 per year. And so we've been able to conserve water and basically maximize the sustainability within the South Bay since the opening of our facility back in 1994. Next slide. You might recognize some of these organizations. Obviously, the usage of recycled water is extremely diverse. One of our newest customers, the SoFi Stadium there in Inglewood, very proud of. A water replenishment district. That impacts nearly everybody in this room today or in our virtual room. But you also have Northrop Grumman, Honda, Chevron, Marathon, Mattel, LAX. We're willing to connect anybody that wants to be connected. So we would love to work with you as far as maximizing that. Next slide. This is just a breakdown of exactly where that recycled water goes. 50% are those refineries. 37% goes back into the ground to protect our seawater barrier. And then of course, be utilized for drinking water purposes. And then 13% for irrigation and other uses. Next slide. So what can you all do and what have we done, I guess I should say. Next slide. You know, I mentioned the year 2000 being kind of a monumental time in West Basin's history. But if you look back in 1990, you can see that each household utilized about 239 gallons per day. That's a lot of water. And in 2020, we got it down to 136. So 136 gallons per household. And I can even break this down even further. Most of you all know that about anywhere from 60% of your actual water usage will be outdoors. Our communities kind of vary depending on the land use. So if you look at this, we're right in that sweet spot of where we would want to be for indoor water usage when you talk about regional per capita. Next slide. We have a whole host of programs, and what we need your help with is help promoting them. We have grass replacement rebates, and I will challenge all of you right now. I would love your help. Most people don't recognize this, but in Southern California, we've taken this extremely seriously. In the entire West Basin service area, any customer that wants to remove their grass will get at least $3 per square foot. Metropolitan Water District is going to raise that, and for municipalities and for local government, it's going to be anywhere from $4 to $6 per square foot. So there has never been a better time for you to remove your turf, especially when they would call it non-functional turf. And I think most of you see it, you know it when you see it. When there's turf that dogs aren't playing on it, kids aren't running through it, and it's just there because it's easy, what you would call cover. But if you can go towards native landscaping, you can conserve water, and that's water conserved for forever. You'll never have to water it like you used to. West Basin gives out free rain barrels to members of the community. You can actually register through the South Bay City Council of Governments, which is one of our biggest partners, their Environmental Services Center. We actually have pickups and deliveries. I know it doesn't rain very much, but when you can fill up a rain barrel for free and actually utilize that for your gardens, it would be a great opportunity to kind of showcase that in the communities. Our Change and Save program For those of our underserved communities or disadvantaged communities, I just want to stress this. This is the highest rebate in the nation. We offer $500 off of a water saving washing machine, $500. All you have to do is register for that, but we need help getting the word out. So in those disadvantaged communities, when you find homeowners or property owners and they want to put these devices in the homes, it's a win-win for everybody, the resident, the homeowner, obviously our community as far as saving water, and that's $500. And then our Cash for Kitchens rebates. Obviously, the South Bay has a rich history as far as restaurants go and commercial kitchens. You can't find a better way for a restaurant owner to save immediate money than giving them free water saving fixtures. And a great example of a city that actually took the initiative and really stepped outside of kind of the norm. Usually these are commercial kitchens that apply for that, but institutional kitchens are also welcome. And the city of Carson applied and got several new fixtures for their community center and saved a ton of money and are now saving a ton of water through that. Next slide. I added this twice because I really am begging you for help. Our board has authorized us to really push the envelope when it comes to grass rebates. They recognize that anytime anybody removes their turf, your water usage will decrease. It'll decrease immediately. And as long as you don't put that grass back, it'll continue on for the life of the property. And so I'm begging you to get the word out in your communities, but more so take a leadership role and really showcase what you can do with it on municipal properties and get the word out to school districts. When you can reduce your demand of water, it's great to see. And I'll throw this out as a great example. I happen to live in Redondo Beach. The Redondo school system has done an amazing job of reducing their turf. And they did something that was quite simple in their playgrounds. They actually just added a running track. And now that running track offers children a great opportunity to exercise, but also reduced a great deal of turf on all of their school playgrounds. So we're excited to see that. But it would be great if our city governments really took advantage of that, because I can tell you, I don't think that rebate will ever get higher than it's getting right now. So you're talking about anywhere for a municipality, anywhere from $4 to $6 per square foot. Next slide. And this is just to tell you all that you're doing a great job. There's a great deal of opportunity for us to really push the envelope when it comes to conservation, but we have to do it together. West Basin has our retail agencies, some of which are municipals and some of which serve your municipalities. We need their help, we need your help. And I'll tell you, our board of directors have done everything they can to empower staff to go out and conserve water. And that is not a normal directive of a water agency. The reduction in water usage is a reduction in sales. And there's only a handful of industries where they really push people not to buy their product. Water is one of those, and I'm excited to do that. So I think the next slide is the conclusion of this presentation, but I am happy to answer any questions, and I know that President Williams is as well.
All right. Thank you, EJ. And I just want to say this, that we can't forget that we live in an arid region with very little rainfall, and we have a huge population dependent upon water. And this should motivate all of us to have a super Cali frugalistic view with our water. Thank you.
All right, thank you both. Mr. Let's see, Councilmember Chen, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you for the presentation. I think earlier in the presentation, I saw a reference that San Diego County seems to be doing a little bit better with respect to the coloration of drought, less severe as we are. And I think it was mentioned they use a lot of ocean water desalination. Is that something we up here in our area could do more of that? I didn't see it in the presentation here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that question. we have been pursuing ocean water desalination as a possible supply of water, but we have not received a lot of support from where we need it, where we have to go through the beach cities, and they're not too thrilled with that. So we are still working and developing our program. We do have a certified EIR, but that's not enough. We are still trying to work through this. And since ocean water desal has a bad name, it's tough to move forward. So, but we are still looking at it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to, let's see, we'll do Council Member Horvath, and then we'll go to Mayor Stern, and then we'll go to Mayor Derringer, and then Council Member Valentine. Mayor Pro Tem Valentine, I believe. Sorry, it's hard to keep up.
And I have my hand up too, Drew.
Oh, sorry, Britt, we'll get to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. EJ, I'm wondering if you, especially related to the programs that you mentioned, the 4 to 6 square foot for government to replace turf. Do you have materials that you can send to us that we could then bring to our councils and talk about? And then also, do you have any stuff that we can use for our own individual newsletters to residents or social media posts so that we can push that out to residents? That would be super helpful.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Yes, I live very close to City Hall, and I'm excited to work with the city of Redondo Beach on this. I will get you the materials related to the turf rebate. Again, it's the highest it'll ever be. And I'm glad you're willing to look at that. As far as materials that promote your city, we just launched, and we reached out to all of your city staff. We just launched our supercalifragilistic marketing campaign to get people to save water and save California. And one of my favorite aspects of that is the campaign actually took a very iconic aspects of each of our cities and tried to make a signage with that tagline. And so we actually have stuff that's made that you could consider as far as utilizing in your materials. Obviously, Redondo Beach has the iconic diamond pier. And of course, everybody, you see it from above and you kind of recognize it, know it. Most of your cities have exactly that. And so we would love to work with you and your city staff as far as promoting water use efficiency in your city with a very personal touch.
Great. Yeah, I'd love to get a hold of that and start pushing it out ASAP. And then my only other quick comment was that, I really personally would love to see the recycling center grow versus, continuing to explore the opportunities of desal. I think that plant is amazing. Anybody who has a chance to do a tour of it should, and it would be great to see more opportunities with recycled water for even eventually becoming available for potable use.
Thank you, Councilmember Horvath. Let's go to Mayor Stern next, please.
Oh, thank you. Christian actually jumped ahead of my question, which was basically the same. I'm very interested to see if we have flyers or anything that we can use to advertise your grass rebate and certainly the rain barrel opportunities. So if we can all be accessing those,
I think
that promotional material.
Sorry, I think that we can do that. If you send it, I mean, we're working with the West Basin. If you send it to us, we will get it out to all of the cities.
Jackie, I have it and I'll forward it to you to send to everyone.
Thank you.
All right, great.
Can
Mayor
I also
Derringer.
ask?
Oh, sorry.
I did have just one more question. Do you anticipate that we're going to be looking down the road, that we will be seeing down the road suggestions on reducing watering time, outdoor landscaping? Is that coming too?
Yes.
Yes.
I would say it is. Well, President Williams, I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you already have communities that are doing that. There are a lot of cities that actually still restrict the amount of days and the amount of time that you can actually water outdoors. One of the issues that we have is if you actually go up just to the north of our service area, So just a little bit north and east of Malibu, you actually have an area that is 100% reliant on state water project water. So they actually can't get Colorado River water up there. And you're going to hear some significant news coming from those communities where they're going to actually outlaw outdoor water usage there. And of course, it's okay right now in the winter, but as we start to get to the spring and the summer, it becomes kind of a hazard. So I think you're going to start to see things happen. I think that you're going to see the California State Legislature contemplate outdoor water use legislation. So I would anticipate that. West Basin has a very proactive legislative approach. So we'll be working with our members, but I would expect that as this drought gets worse, and they expect that it will, you're going to see the state legislature begin to act, as well as the State Water Resources Control Board.
Okay, thank you. We'll watch for those recommendations.
Okay, Mayor Derringer.
Yes, and just so we understand the parameters of the turf replacement program, is this something in which our residents who maybe have already replaced turf or put in maybe artificial grass within the year that they could still take advantage of the program? It's only prospective. And what would they need to establish that if they've already done it recently?
It is only people that are looking into it. I really hope, and especially in most of our communities where we've really been doing a lot of outreach, I hope that anybody that's done it within the last year was able to receive that rebate that was previously there. We've had the rebate for the last, I think, 7 years in this area, but it's been a varying dollar amount, anywhere from $2 to $3. Now you're starting to see people really invest in it. And so that's why you're starting to see that $4 to $6 range. But right now, anybody that's applied over the last couple of years probably received anywhere from $2 to $3. But the higher amounts are only for future applicants.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Mayor Pro Tem Valentine and then Councilmember Huff.
Thank you, Mayor. So thank you for that great presentation. And I wanted to ask you about your water inspection trips. I think I heard you say you're going to resume them. I used to really enjoy those trips. They were informative, and you know, it just a great opportunity to actually see those projects in action, the State Water Project, the Colorado River projects. So when do you anticipate resuming them?
Well, it's kind of hard to tell right now, but we know that at sometime beginning in 22, we will be looking at those trips again. But for now, I can't tell you when it would be. But as soon as possible.
Who will be the contact? Who will we contact?
You can contact West Basin. You can contact West Basin because we have 2 directors on our board.
Okay, so either director, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, either Director Gray or myself. But just talking to our administrative staff, they can provide you with information as to when the trips will start up.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Councilmember Huff.
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, thanks to both of you for being here this evening. This has been just a very helpful presentation as to what we can be looking forward to. I was interested in that one of your first graphs on the 4 sources of supply of water and the 10% groundwater. We hear a lot more recently about saltwater intrusion and some of it impacted by the way oil is being extracted these days. Has that groundwater percentage diminished considerably in more recent years, or has that stayed fairly stable?
If you look historically, it's remained relatively stable. If you can imagine a long time ago prior to the 1940s, we were 100% reliant on that groundwater supply. But as more and more people moved here, obviously we started to use less and less. I don't think that oil extraction has had any impact on groundwater usage. It really has just been sometimes the ease of utilizing imported water. It's a little bit cheaper as far as the maintenance of the materials. It's cheaper to buy now, but the owners of those facilities need to maintain it. But it is something that West Basin is looking at. You have seen a historical decline since, I would say, 2000. But I think that's going to go back up. I think that the idea is to utilize sustainable supplies. And when you can actually place recycled water into the ground and utilize it for potable service, I think that's the future here in the South Bay.
So you're not particular about the salt intrusion process?
No, and in fact, if you haven't had a chance to visit the Edward C. Little Water Recycling Facility in El Segundo, the science and technology involved in placing recycled water, they actually all along Prospect Avenue throughout the beach cities, they actually have injection wells all the way across there, and it creates a barrier of water with that recycled water to keep that saltwater intrusion out. So the only brackish or salty water that we have inland is stuff that's been in there for decades. So the technology is sound.
Well, and then you mentioned that the household usage has decreased substantially between 1990 and currently from like 239 gallons to 136. That's pretty impressive. Other than possibly household size reduction, what do you attribute that to? Just people consciousness of the need to conserve?
Well, I think that if you look at water use efficiency, they classify it in two different categories. You have your passive conservation, which is something that you get naturally. So a high efficiency clothes washer, once you buy it, you put it in there, it's going to naturally conserve water. You don't have to do anything. It'll conserve water forever. But then when you have active conservation, like removing your turf, now you're actually doing something to conserve water. You turning your taps off, or actually creating native landscaping, so you're reducing your demand. There's a lot of things that we can still do, and it's a little bit about education. Take a shorter shower if you can. Turn off the tap when you're brushing your teeth. A lot of people utilize aerators that kind of reduce the flow, but create the same pressure as far as their faucets go. So there's still a lot of things that we can do, and West Basin takes a very proactive approach in providing programs that make it a little bit easier for residents to take advantage of that.
Well, I was
One of the things, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey, folks, we're quite a bit over in time, actually. About
Okay, but
12 minutes, so.
if I could just say this, each division has a director, and we go out in the communities and give these talks and to service groups. So we'd be happy to come to your city or any city and make a presentation, not as high as the one we just delivered here, but enough so that it's kind of tailored to particular service groups. Thank you.
Thank you.
Britt, is that, you good?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, so we're on to, thank you very much, West Basin. I appreciate being on. Harold, president of West Basin, and EJ, thank you for your time. Okay, we're on to Super Bowl preparations and what the South Bay cities need to know. I know we had some technical difficulties. Jackie,
We've not,
Are we
Jim
good?
Butts has not been able to sign on. So we're
Okay.
going to have to,
we're gonna
I've
move
told
on
him
to
that
item D.
if he can sign in, I told him we'd get to him.
Okay, great. Let's move on to item D then. Rafi Hempayarian, Metro's Director of Federal Affairs.
Hi there. Thank you for having me this evening. I'm happy to provide an update. I'll try to do it with an eye towards brevity and clarity. There's a lot going on with respect to the Infrastructure Investment and Justice Act. And also there's a second measure that is being debated this evening, the Build Back Better, the second part of the Build Back Better plan, which also has transportation provisions. I'll try to sort of summarize a really big bill that runs about 1,100 pages and say that by and large, the legislation has an appreciation in federal transportation funding of anywhere from 35 to 37%. So if you're looking at, for example, a program like surface transportation block grants, there's $72 billion. Programs like the congestion mitigation air quality program. And for Steve Lance and Jackie, these are, these are programs that sing to their heart because they know that they form the heart and soul of the Metro federal legislative program. With respect to transit, one of the priorities that the Metro Board had set out was an increase in the capital investment grant program. That's the main federal grant program that funds new transit projects. That program went from 2.3 billion to 4.6 billion. So it sort of represents what I would refer to as an anomaly in the appreciation of 35 to 37%, actually doubled in size. And then you have other programs like, for example, there is a new, and this is brand new, grant program for bridges. And that, I believe, not going to be a core element to Metro because Metro doesn't build bridges, but for the County of Los Angeles is going to be very beneficial for the construction of bridges, especially in areas where the bridges have gone well past their life expectancy. There's a number of other provisions that I'd like to highlight. One for Metro is super important, which is state of good repair. The legislation has over $23 billion in state of good repair. And this is essential because Metro is getting to be an older system, especially with respect to our rail cars, and some of the life expectancy of the rail cars is further getting well past their prime, and state of good repair makes sure that we can keep our vehicles in tip-top shape. There's also a large amount of money for grade separations. And I know in Los Angeles County, grade separations are a big deal. In fact, a little far afield from all of you, but in the city of Santa Fe Springs, the Rosecrans Marquardt grade crossing is actually listed by the state of California as one of the most dangerous grade crossings in the entire state of California. With respect to how quickly this money will get going, the answer is on the formula end of things, relatively quickly. The bill is really two parts, and I think this is one thing that I focus on, and then I'm going to move to the second piece of legislation that is being considered this evening, and the transportation provisions in that bill. The bill is actually what passed last week and was signed into law by President Biden on Monday is really two creatures. One is a $650 billion authorization bill. This replaced the FAST Act, which expired over a year ago, and that authorizes the Surface Transportation Authorization Program for the United States of America, the entire country. $650 billion. That's a record authorization bill. Now, on top of that, and what makes the 1.2 trillion of this infrastructure bill so impressive is that on top of that authorization was 5 years, fiscal year 2022 to fiscal year 2026 of appropriations. So you'll have a scenario where not only are programs authorized at a certain dollar amount, but they get an additional appropriations. And so that's why this measure is such a big deal and is going to increase, we believe, dramatically the federal funds flowing into our country, into our county, sorry. The second issue I wanted to talk about, and I think that the best part of this dialogue can be not necessarily me talking, but me responding to any of your inquiries, is the second phase of the Build Back Better plan, which is being voted on in the House of Representatives today. In fact, Minority Leader McCarthy is on the floor right now. I was just listening to him, and he was, rallying his caucus in opposition to the measure. It appears as of this hour, as of this late hour in Washington, D.C., that Speaker Pelosi has the votes. That measure is largely on the social spending side, but it does have a number of transportation provisions that came out of the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, led by Pete DeFazio from Oregon. The two provisions I would focus on is number one, there's a section 11001, which is entitled the Affordable Housing Access Program. And that was at $10 billion. The final House bill, I think, has it around $9.75 billion. And that provides funding for not only housing, but it also provides funding for new transit services, number one. Number two, it allows for grants for fare free and reduced fare services and for increased frequency for transit services. And so that is a big deal, and that is all new funding and funding that hitherto did not exist. And the second provision is it's section 11009. The number is not important. There's $10 billion in the reconciliation measure for high-speed rail. And so these are the two big provisions, $20 billion, which is a lot of money, but when you look at the size of the overall measure, as of a couple of hours ago was around $1.9 trillion. So the transportation obviously was taken care of in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and then the sequel bill obviously does not have the robust resources that the bill that was signed into law on Monday does. So overall, this is big news for Los Angeles County. There are, if I told you, there are dozens and dozens of provisions that are relevant to Los Angeles County. It would not be an exaggeration. To just pull one example, the Los Angeles County Board of Directors under Director Butts and our Board of Directors has been pushing for local hire. And that basically gives LA Metro the ability to hire people who live in the areas where projects are being built. Before the reforms were made in this bill, that effort to hire people locally is actually contrary to federal law. So really good news that was embedded in the bill. And like I said, there are dozens of other provisions. So the first money that's really going to roll out is the formula money is going to be coming out pretty quickly. It should be an appreciation, highway and transit, about 35 to 37%. And the second part of the funding that's going to roll out is the discretionary grant funding. So programs like the low or no emissions, so folks can replace their dirty diesel buses with cleaner buses. Programs like the infra grant program, which is for major goods movement projects, and that's funded at $8 billion in the bill. And then other programs like the RAISE grant program, which is for both highway and transit. And so there will be lots of opportunities to pick up on these federal dollars. It's going to be very competitive. I will tell you that I'm from New York myself originally. My old friends in the Big Apple are going to be making every effort to take every single dollar that they can, and we here in Southern California have to, we have to be aggressive, smart, and united when we seek federal funds for our efforts to improve mobility across Los Angeles County. So that's a bit of a filibuster for the evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, comments, critiques, criticisms. It's all welcome. Thank you, Drew. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamperian. Any questions? Wow. Okay, I'm surprised by that. So much information there. I'm sure there'll be more follow-on questions. Thank you so much, Rafi, for your time. Appreciate it. Okay, Jack, you're on to transportation reports.
Yes. Yeah, we just had one, but our next one is Metro, and with Mayor Butt's not here, I'm going to ask Steve Lance to give the Metro report. And in this, also, we're going to have the Metro letter on police services.
So it was a 6-hour board meeting today, full of a lot of interesting tidbits for Metro, but there were a couple that were important to the COG. First of all, there was in the update to the major project status, They noted that the Green Line to Torrance has been doing virtual neighborhood tours. They have that available online. And so far, 1,500 people have gone and viewed that neighborhood tour. They're also actively involved with presentations to Lawndale and Redondo Beach. They're in discussions with both of those cities. And they're going to be touring with UP the stretch that's at the eastern end of the project to try and figure out how we can add double tracks for the light rail line and still maintain UP's access to all of its customers in that stretch. So that's the update for the Green Line. Most of the discussion today was around the issue of let's see, where'd I go? There it is. I got it. Hang on. While I'm looking, they also talked about the Highway Modernization Program. And in that program, we had sent a letter and asked for an appeal process in which findings, if a city disagrees with Metro staff on the eligibility of a project, we wanted an appeal process to go to the Metro Board, and that was included in the recommendation. So we got what we wanted there. There's an issue on public safety that has been percolating for months. And the Metro had created a public safety advisory committee. And that advisory committee came out with its recommendations. And basically what they said was, when the current contracts with the sheriff and the Long Beach Police and LA City LAPD expire starting in December, that the Public Safety Advisory Committee wanted them not to be renewed or extended at all. They wanted the policing effort to stop, and they wanted Metro to reprogram the money that Metro spends on policing on the Metro system, about 75 million a year, to be used for ambassadors and other strategies to make it less law enforcement and more public safety and public assistance. It was very clear in the discussion that followed on two different items. Mayor Butts was very persuasive in his position that it would be irresponsible to not have law enforcement on the trains, that you don't want to eliminate one and exclusively go to the other, that we need a blend of law enforcement and better customer service and better responsiveness to our customers. So bottom line, last night there was a press conference held by Villanueva, the sheriff, in which he lambasted the PSAC and criticized Metro directly for its approach and for even considering eliminating the sheriff. His position was that the sheriff force should be increased significantly in order to provide appropriate policing of the system. Metro Board didn't take that well today. Mike Bonin asked for a motion for staff and county council to report back on the options for terminating the Metro contract with the county sheriffs for non-performance with penalties. So this is going to get very ugly, I think, continuing. So Janice Hahn added a motion to the staff recommendation that any agency that was serving on Metro buses or trains and mandate and enforce COVID-19 vaccinations for their workforce, for their employees or their contracted personnel. So that made it into the motion in addition. That initial motion was forwarded to the board without recommendation. The second motion was dealing with the same issues, but the specific contracts, and those contracts went according to the staff recommendations with the amendment that I mentioned. The other thing that they want to do in the second motion was to have consideration of key performance indicators in all the contracts so that you can hold these organizations accountable in their extensions of their contracts. And they did approve inclusion of the options to terminate the sheriff when they report back. So I think that was the major issue. It was a long meeting and most of the discussion was about public safety. And a lot of that discussion was about the sheriff and his unacceptable press conference that was held last night. I think that's the summary of what happened.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lance.
Questions?
Oh, okay. And if there's no questions for Steve on that, we do have the letter that it turns out many subregions have gotten this report from the Public Safety Advisory Committee and are writing letters to state that we support the Metro staff recommendation, which is to continue researching all of this, but also to continue with the police services. So that we have that letter on the agenda and we would ask your approval to send that.
So
right.
moved.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Derringer. We have a first.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Valentine. Dave, would you please do a voice vote or a reverse roll call?
Certainly. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
The motion passes. Next would be Christian with the Transportation Committee.
Nothing too much to report, with the exception that we did have a discussion around sending a joint letter with Gateway COG to Metro for the 30-year maintenance schedule and budget. Time to start thinking about that. I don't think we have a draft of that letter yet. That will probably be coming to the next Transportation Committee meeting. And then assuming that the committee passes that, it'll go forward to the steering committee in December. The only other bit of news is that the new chair of the Transportation Committee is now Chris Pimentel, council member from El Segundo. That's it for me.
One other announcement in that context, we talked about the fact that if you have projects that need additional funding, or if you have new projects that you want to propose, those project applications are due to David by December 1st. We've got starting to get calls from staff asking for more time, and the answer to everybody is no. We've been telling you for months it's due December 1st, so these applications are actually due December 1st to have consideration for something in the neighborhood of $50 million available per year out of Measure M in the 3 programs for Measure M. Remember, we don't have any Measure R money left. We've dedicated all of that already through the end of 2039.
All right. Thank you. We're on the legislative committee, right, Jackie?
Yes.
Okay, we turn it over to Councilmember Armato.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick update from our legislative committee. We recommended approval of the 2022 policy platform, adding under the bullet for public safety that we would support legislation that was enhancing public safety in our communities. We also said that we would either support or propose or sponsor legislation as follows: legislation to provide financial incentive to all slow vehicles that are purchased, legislation in support of local travel network. We are holding on the state-funded project-based housing voucher program and obtaining feedback from various organizations. So far, we heard back from the League and Contract Cities, possibly more, Bronson, if he's met with others. And then recommending supporting the Brand Huang Mendoza tripartisan land use initiative to make zoning and land use a community affair, not of state interest. And I think that's it on my update, unless Jackie, we're going to talk about the housing trust.
Yes, we are. So, so what we're asking for, first of all, we approved the recommendation on the the neighborhood initiative that was approved on the consent calendar. So that's already been done. But what we're asking for is the approval of the 2 pieces of legislation, because we need to ask legislators if they would endorse them. Those 2 pieces of legislation have to do with neighborhood electric vehicles designation in the state, which is a pro forma piece of legislation that has been done all throughout California, but needs to be done each time. And then the other one has to do with, am I forgetting? Rebates for slow speed vehicles. And Stacy did mention this third one. Ronson came up with this idea, which would affect the whole state on vouchers. And we are vetting that. And we're not asking for your approval tonight, but we will be bringing, if we continue with that, we'll bring that back. So we might want to take the motion first and then go into the regional trust fund.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, great. Armato first, Horvath second. David?
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Stacy, do you want to do this? Or do you want me to start it?
Yeah, go ahead, Jackie. That's fine.
Okay, well, the contract cities last year proposed a housing trust fund. And so we've been sort of holding it off to the side and thinking about how it might work. Stacy brought it to our attention that after you all heard Attorney General Bonta say that he's, developing an army and he's going to come after cities, this was possibly a strategy that we might want to use as a way of showing that we are interested, concerned, and committed to trying to address some of this problem. It's hard to discuss this in the abstract. So we did two things. Stacy and I had a call with San Gabriel Valley, which has a trust fund, and I'll let Stacy talk more about that. And then the second thing we did is Stacy contacted Mike Jenkins, our legal attorney counsel, and we thought that if we had the legal counsel prepare documents, which would be a few $1,000s, we would have something to talk about. We would have a concrete how a regional trust fund would be formed in this area, and then we could see about how that would work. So the item on the agenda tonight is asking for your approval to authorize us to contract with our local council to do that document. But I'll turn it over to Stacy for the more details.
Thank you, Jackie. And just to be clear, it was our impression from Mike Jenkins that we could charge back whatever couple $1,000s that it cost to put together the JPA for a regional housing trust back to the trust. There's a couple reasons why I think it's a good idea. Jackie mentioned that Bonta is putting together the housing strike force, and I think we would insulate our cities from that if we were showing that we were putting our best foot forward and investing the time and energy in creating a regional housing trust. We're also missing out on tens of millions of dollars a year of funding from the state and the federal government by not having a regional housing trust. And it was also brought to our attention that, of course, some cities maybe collect development fees. Our city is looking at potentially collecting land value recapture fees that could feed into this regional housing trust. We could, write the bylaws that it could only be for your city if that's what we wanted to do. But the state also has a program where they match those funds as long as they're not state or federal funds. So there's a lot of funding here that we're missing out on that we could be putting towards building affordable housing within each of our cities. So we met with the San Gabriel Valley COG. They have an agreement with the San Gabriel Valley Housing Trust to manage the trust. It takes about 1.5 full-time employees' time, a cost around $300,000 that is divided up amongst their participating cities. I think they have about a 70% participation rate. It's optional to participate. I suspect it would be the same with our COG as well. It goes from about $5,000 per city and a little upwards from there, depending on the size. They do it by population. Those are admin costs. That's how they do it. We could devise it differently with our bylaws and charge it back to the trust if that's what we so wanted. They also have opportunities for affiliate memberships. So some cities maybe already have a trust fund or have a development fee that they have collected through the years, and they have that all figured out. So they can join as affiliate members for a much smaller fee. I mentioned previously that they are funded by the state. I think it was over $22 million this last year that was earmarked for their fund, the Housing Trust. The federal government, maybe just under 3 million that I could find. They're also funded by Measure H and some other county funds. They have a 9-member board, 7 cities and 2 housing experts. That's how they form their board. We could do what we want. They have a project pipeline and they have a scoring card that they've developed on how they would rate particular projects. One being very important, that it was actually ready for construction. They've done 2 projects in the last year and a half that they've been in existence that's created 71 affordable housing units. They have 2 projects that are ready to get started that they're going to be awarding the funds for another 175 units. These are all fully affordable housing. We could do it differently if we wanted to earmark the funds for a project that was 10% affordable housing or 20%. We could fund just that 20%. Your money can go further across more projects. They've prioritized all affordable housing projects. They have 14 projects in their pipeline that would create another 800 affordable housing units. And we also talked about how these funds could potentially go towards homeless shelters as well. So I think that's it on my update. Happy to answer any questions. I see B has her hand up.
Yes. And as a member of the legislative committee, I think it's great we're checking out and trying to do something on a housing trust fund. I think it makes sense given the strike force that is poised to strike against our cities. And I do think we also should keep renewing our efforts to ask the legislature for funding for affordable housing, because it just appears to me, given the original version of AB 215 last year, in which they were requiring cities not just to be responsible for zoning for affordable housing, but actually building affordable housing. As we all know, we build houses. So they removed that provision, but then that's when they inserted the ability for the housing department to be able to not be limited to the attorney general, but to actually be able to farm out litigation against cities to any attorney firm who wants to take their business, which we know there'll be plenty of people who will take state money for that. So I think we need to have a multiple approach, where we are not putting all our eggs in the one housing trust basket. And I think we should be gathering information, not just from the San Gabriel Valley Trust Fund, but information from other trust funds that exist in the state. And then we can compare and contrast and do that within the legislative committee before we employ Mike Jenkins to write up a proposal, because it could be that we'll have more information to put in the proposal, what we like and what we don't like out of various trust funds that exist, so that we can form what we think would be best for our COG going forward. So I would propose that we do that instead of authorizing Mike Jenkins to do some type of draft already and pay him to do it. We can do that after we gather enough information to determine what we want in such an agreement.
Thanks, B. Stacy, do you have a thought on that? Please comment.
Well, I mean, we could have him work up a draft that then we could all take a look at. We could funnel it through our legislative committee and offer edits that way, and then recommend it to the steering committee and the board. Jackie, do you have an opinion on that?
I guess my opinion is that I don't think Mike will be able to write this up without doing some research of his own. And we don't have the staff or the expertise to understand it as well as he does.
So Jackie, the staff's recommendation is to authorize up to $5,000 for Mr. Jenkins to, is that right?
I don't know if it's our recommendation, but I think that maybe, if we're going to do a lot more research, I think that might be the cleanest, the fastest way for us to get something to discuss on the table.
Okay.
I
thank you.
move to authorize Mike Jenkins to draft the JPA for the Housing Trust.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Valentine. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Armato. Any further discussion? No, Dave, would you
Well-
please do a vote?
Well, really quickly, I just want to make sure, B, that we're addressing your concerns. I just want to be clear about expectations and
I just think it would be more prudent financially for us to have a lot of that information. I think on the legislative committee, we can gather information. I think we should have the benefit of having various other trust funds so we can look at it and say, yeah, we like that provision. They can give us copies of their JPAs and we'll save on the research time that we're paying Mike Jenkins for. I'm trying to be conservative with money so that we don't just have him do all of the work, which is going to cost up to the $5,000, as opposed to if we gather all the information and we just say, yeah, we like this provision and that provision, and then make it fit for what we need. I think that's the best way. So we go at it and not just have something just to have something, but we get the best what we want for our needs in the South Bay.
all right. So if it's okay with the group, what we could do is we could run it through the legislative committee and we could do some of that work. We could look at the JPA and the bylaws for the San Gabriel Valley Regional Housing Trust. I think that would be a great start, and then offer our recommendations for the great parts over to Jenkins as he drafts up the JPA for us. Does that work?
It would be preferable than paying him to do all that research. And we change it because we think, oh, we came across another provision we like better than what's in there.
Okay. Jackie, is
Okay,
that
great.
okay?
So,
We have a-
okay, I'm sorry, my understanding then is that, there is expense for us to be doing this research, but
Hey,
so
Jackie, hold
my,
on. We have a first and a second on approving the funds to have Mr. Jenkins do the work. Stacy's incorporating B's comments to see if we can reduce the amount of fees, the billable hours, by incorporating other COGS feedback. So we have first and a second. Let's go for the vote.
I'm going to do this one by roll call just in case.
Right.
Boyles,
Yes.
Tanaka,
Yes.
Hawthorne, Valentine,
Yes.
Armato,
Yes.
Mayor Butts is still not here. Okay. Suarez,
Yes.
Gaisley,
Aye.
Stern,
Yes.
and Redondo Beach, Horvath,
Aye.
Rolling Hills, Derringer,
Yes.
Rolling Hills Estates, Huff,
Yes.
Torrance, Chen,
No,
and Supervisor District 2.
I don't think she's here. It would be
Not here?
Sonia
Okay.
Lopez, and she's left.
So we have one no, so motion passes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Armato and Mayor Derringer. All right. Jackie, Homeless Services?
Yes.
Or no,
I'm
is there
gonna-
another, was there another item under legislative? Was
No.
that it?
No, that was
Okay.
it. So we can go
Okay,
on
great.
to, Ronson has a couple of things to talk to you about, and then I'd like, I think Colleen's available. We have some movie stars in the group, and I'd like to share the video that we have. So Ronson?
Great. Good evening, everyone. Yeah. So the first thing, we have the SOW for the innovation funds with the county right now. They're looking at it. And so we're ready to move forward the MOUs with the cities, and this affects several cities that are here right now, which include like El Segundo with the Beach Cities outreach workers, which also includes Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, and Redondo Beach, as well as Hawthorne with the outreach staff that they have, and several other cities. So this MOU, we want to get it executed before the year begins, so that we can hit the ground running. So that means we'll be working with your city staff to get the MOU to a place where your city council can approve it if that's necessary. And so I wanted to just put down your radar that we're going to try to agendize the MOU for the innovation funds on your city council agendas. So that's coming up, and I want to bring that to your attention. We also have the homeless count coming up in January, and if I can share my screen, let's see. For everyone, the flyer. So yeah, so these are the locations of the homeless count in your cities, where the volunteer enrollment is beginning. So we're looking for volunteers for the homeless count, which will happen on January 26th, I believe. That's a Wednesday.
Yes.
Evening. And so yeah, so there's your cities. We're still looking for a winter shelter site. This will be the last thing. And it doesn't have to be a big site. We're looking for anything as small as 6,000 square feet, with some restrooms. MASA is still, looking for sites to fund. They have all the funding, and so they're willing to provide all the operating expenses. And if it's a private location, they'd be willing to even negotiate like a lease agreement with them. So yeah, if you know of any locations, we're still looking for some winter shelter sites in the South Bay.
Bronson, I'm not sure you talked about the COGs, all of the councils of governments, well, not all of them. If there's 4 at this point, us, San Gabriel Valley, Gateway COG, and Las Virgenes Malibu are signing a letter that would go to discuss some of the issues that we've all had with the administration, the one size fits all, the way that the program, the homeless program is running. And we'll be sending that letter to the county around December 1st. So I just wanted you to know it's nothing that you haven't already heard about some of our problems with the lack of flexibility in the system. Bronson, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I was actually going to kind of piggyback on the Blue Ribbon Commission.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So yeah, this letter that we'll be signing is talking about having more regional and local coordination. Having more of say from the cities and COGs of how we want to kind of implement some of the Measure H funding. And also maybe including adding cities and COG representation to the LAHSA Commission. Right now, the only city that's represented is LA City. And so we want to change that. And also want to add more data analysis. Right now, I don't have access to HMIS or any type of data. I just get reports, but it'd be nice to have more robust data reporting from the county so that we can see how homelessness is affecting us specifically.
Great. Shall we show that we have a video? Colleen, can you show the video? I just want to.
Yes.
And if
I'm hoping you'll be able to hear it, but I'm going to try to do that.
okay, if you have places for us to use this video, please let Colleen know. It's very short, very short. You got it?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to share it actually, because
Okay.
I'm on my Mac at home and doesn't seem to be coming up as an option
Let me see if
next
okay.
time.
I don't know if David or Natalie can share it, but in the meantime, let's let Christian give the Blue Ribbon report. Maybe David or Natalie can share it.
Sure. So the Blue Ribbon Commission has continued to meet every other week. I think there's been some frustration from commissioners just about the presentations that we've been getting, especially from LAHSA and or Measure H. They've I don't know, and Ronson can speak as somebody who's been watching the meetings. Yeah, it's felt very defensive in the way that they have been kind of presenting information. And so just this past meeting on Wednesday, we finally moved into some exploration of like, what could a governance structure look like moving forward? And that was presented by a third party. So I think what the executive director of this Blue Ribbon Commission has been trying to do is make sure that the commission is provided with all the information that was in the original motion by the Board of Supervisors. And I think we've pretty much exhausted most of that. I think on a go forward basis here, as we start to wind down this commission, we'll be getting a little bit more deep into governance, where the money flows, and then to a point that I think Ronson has made to me, some more robust discussions amongst the commissioners as to how we want to start moving things forward, and what we need to effectuate potential change or actionable change that we can send back to the Board of Supervisors. Ronson, I don't know if you want to add any color based on just your observations.
No, that's really good. And I think as we get further along this, we'll have more concrete ideas of what directions we're going. And maybe at that point, we can start formulating maybe South Bay ideas and drafting like a South Bay letter for the Blue Ribbon Commission. But I think we're still a little early. And I believe, Christian, you mentioned that they really won't, you won't really start deliberating until like January, maybe, because the commission needs to get through these presentations. Is that right? Yeah.
That's my understanding.
I do have the PSA up here, so let me try to share it again. It's asking for a password here.
Not working.
I can try it. I have it up. You want me to try it?
Yeah.
Yes. Oops. No sound.
I like the broom.
Room's getting a lot of comments. So now you'll have to go and see what it sounds like, but this is the kind of things that Colleen is doing, and we'd love to put it on your city channels or any place you can help us get this out. And even at Thanksgiving, when you're sitting around with your family, you might want to say, look at this, got to show you my friends, okay?
Yeah, we sort of
This is awesome.
Home Share Oregon's book and produced our own public service announcement. It's going to be airing on Spectrum commercial channels and for 3 months starting in December. So we'll also put it on our YouTube channel so you can all share it as well.
Awesome. I love that. 'Cause it's
Are we
featuring-
having requests?
When will it be on? When will it be available for us to share?
Probably in the next week or so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So Olivia, are we taking offers for you to bring your broom to our house?
Oh, that was so much fun.
Yeah, you're going to
No,
get a
what's-
lot of offers for that, you know.
What's great about that video is that it's achieving a couple different strategic priorities for the COG.
Mhm.
Brand awareness for the COG and featuring different members of the COG board. So it's great. Okay, is there anything else to discuss related to homeless services?
Anything?
No? Okay.
Just one last thing. Remember,
Yeah.
rent relief is still going on. There's still money with the state. If you have constituents that are struggling with their rent, they'll pay your rent back all the way back to April of 2020.
Great. Thank you, Ronson. Okay, South Bay Fiber Network. Jackie? You're muted, Jackie.
And just last thing on homeless, Rodney Tanaka will be the new chair of the Homeless Services Committee.
Yes, Rodney. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Okay, fiber. We are having wonderful conversations with ADF, American Dark Fiber, to see how we can move this into your business community and maybe your residents. I'm hoping that in the next couple of months, I'll have much more detail to give you, but you know, we're moving along. We had a really great meeting with them, and I just wanted to let you know that. Local travel network, where our staff, David and Aaron, are meeting with your city staff, and with this legislation, if we can get a sponsor, which I'm sure we can, we'll get all the bureaucratic things taken care of, and we're hoping to have go out with an RFP soon for a contract for signage, which we'll be bringing back to you. Next would be Kim with the Environmental Services Center.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm glad you liked the presentation that we had by West Basin, and to support some of that work, we are putting information on our website that we'll be sharing links to all the cities, so you'll be able to get into packets that are newsletter articles and social media and that kind of thing. And we talked about it last month, but that's what those kitchen walks are, those kitchen audit restaurant walks are for the different communities. We had 3 elected officials that were interested in going out with Martha into the community. So that's more of that work as well. And we do also promote their grass replacement and their washer rebates, all of those things through the Environmental Services Center. So I'm glad that you got to hear it straight from West Basin. Also, I wanted to let you know that we are doing audits for energy efficiency at several city facilities. The most recent is going to be the city of Gardena, and there's going to be several done there. We're going to do City Hall, the Transportation Center, the Community Center, the gym, and the Public Works building. And so what they'll do is they'll go in, we'll have energy efficiency engineers look at the building and identify ways that you can increase your energy efficiency. And then also on therm savings for gas, we had a big project finish up in Carson, and they were able to save 2,059 therms in a boiler project. So that got done. And I think that's all I have right now for you. Any questions?
Okay. If you want to go on, we have senior services, which I guess would be Britt.
Yes, we're having our last meeting of the year, Tuesday, December 7th, and our guest speaker will be Kathy Hetzer from Harbor Interfaith, and she'll be sharing the different programs they have, of course, with an emphasis on homeless families and general background on that organization. And we plan to go into the new year with doing a similar kind of thing with the members of the group, in terms of having everyone have a chance to share a little bit about their individual organizations and how they're serving seniors in our community. Thank you. Oh, and I mean, maybe Bronson has some, I think we're going to have updates from Path and so forth. Do you have any additional?
No, just that, yeah, Kathy is a great person, because she is seeing, you know, she handles a large caseload of a number of seniors, and we'll be going through some case studies that she encounters. And so I think it's a great educational opportunity for our working group.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Mayor Stern is going to do the SPA 8 working group, I think.
Great.
Sure. Thanks, Jackie. So we did have our meeting. We had a meeting in November, on November 4th. And we had a really interesting presentation by Kyla Coates, who is familiar to all of us. She's the Justice and Mental Health Deputy with the county. She was explaining a program. It's the 988 program that's going to be launched. I believe it's next summer. It's the crisis response program. It's by dialing 988, it gives access to a 24/7 crisis response team. And this is a way to take some of the load off of our public safety responders, our police officers who respond typically more to cases that involve, like a safety issue. This is just for mental health that doesn't require that level of a response, but does give that supportive response to somebody that's experiencing a mental health issue or crisis. So they're not asking for any information right now. They're not asking necessarily for any support. There is a pilot program, I believe, with Hermosa Beach. Stacy, I might be misstating that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when they do launch and when they get closer to the launch, they will be asking cities for support for this program. That was a very, very informative and a really great way to support an area that is currently not well responded to in our cities. And then we did then just have an opportunity for all the cities to kind of talk about areas that they are particularly interested in or that they have special programs for, so that we can share ideas together. And we have created kind of a rubric for sharing that information. And we're going to keep moving those ideas forward as we keep understanding what our priorities are. Jackie did share a priority that maybe many of our cities are interested in pursuing, which is the need to look at the opiate issues in the South Bay, which is definitely, we understand the increase in those issues even across the country, but certainly we should be looking at whether that is an issue for any of our cities and how we can help address that. So we have decided to have regular consistent meetings. We'll be having those on the third Monday of every month at 9 o'clock. So our next meeting is December 16th. It's a great collaboration with the COG, with Beach Cities Health District, with the county, and with our cities, both with elected officials and with city managers attending. So we're really happy that we're keep moving this committee forward. And if I've missed anything, Stacy or Jackie, please jump in here and fill in what I missed.
Unfortunately, Stacy had to leave. So,
Back.
oh no, there's Stacy. My gosh. Yeah. Sorry, Stacy.
Nothing to add.
Okay. Okay. Nothing. Should we go on?
Yes.
Next item is the General Assembly. We have, I think, Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, we have 3 sponsors, or Chandler's here, I think he was. Our sponsors are the Port of Los Angeles, Cox, and I think Water Replenishment District, is it? Right. So we have 3 sponsors. We obviously need a lot more. Chandler's working on that for us. I'm going to start developing hives because we have to get our program down. And right now we don't have one. And so I have an outline of speakers, but I'm going to have to work with our chair and others that have ideas to get some speakers so that we can start publicizing those. I don't have much else to say. Kim, do you want to say anything about the General Assembly?
Yes, I would say that we have a lot of people, businesses that are interested in our exhibit hall this year. And maybe it's because people haven't been, at events, a lot of events, but there's a lot of excitement around the exhibit hall. So I'm hoping that that will translate into sponsorship. So.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be, suggest that they should be a speaker, but we're suggesting that they should be sponsors. They're both S words, but one is more important than the other. Okay, Mr. Chair, we have one item under other, and I would like Colleen to show you our brand new newsletter. She's been redesigning it, and I thought she could just run through the pages really fast, and you could take a look at in your leisure, but I wanted to draw your attention to it. Colleen?
Yep, let me just share my screen here. So I wanted to start off by showing you what we started out with about a year ago. This is what the newsletter looked like previously. And you can see it's just 2 colors. It's all black and white photos. It was very text heavy, and we had sort of a rotating color that we would do each issue, and it didn't really connect with our logo or our brand. It was just sort of different colors every time. And we had a lot of sort of wasted space around the periphery and the margins. And we're sort of using like a Standard Times New Roman font. And we had this food for thought in the back and the calendar on the back page, as well as the list of names and cities on the front page. So what we've done, let me share the new version. We've gone with a lot more color and graphic elements, and we redesigned the masthead, which is, the top says South Bay Watch. We've added a table of contents down at the bottom, and we took the list of names and cities and moved that down over to the back page to give us more space on the front page. And again, we've added more graphic elements, trying to get rid of the copy heavy look that we had before to make it, easier and more compelling to read. We have a regular feature called the City Showcase, which will now feature more color photos. And this issue focuses on Torrance and the Madrona Marsh Nature Preserve. And then we also announced, I want to call out in this particular issue that we're launching the Why I Love the South Bay Photo Contest. That will be an ongoing contest every quarter, where we ask people to submit their favorite photo of the South Bay, and we'll have the board officers and our staff select the winning photo each quarter, and that will be featured in the newsletter and on our social media pages and on the website. And then we also have a regular feature about the South Bay Environmental Services Center, and we'll be able to just feature that more prominently with color and the logo and some graphic design elements, infographics. We changed the name over the last year of Food for Thought to Perspective, and that's still sort of an opinion editorial focused piece. And this particular issue, we are featuring the Clean Power Alliance, talking about what they're doing to make the power grid more resilient. And we moved, again, the list of names onto the back page. So we'll still have rotating colors. We decided to make it a seasonal thing, and using colors from our new color palette, which our web developer helped us with developing. And so fall will always be orange, and then we'll probably do something maybe blue for fall, for winter, and so forth. So we're really excited about it, and we look forward to hearing any feedback you have about it.
Thank you, Colleen. I don't know if anybody wants to, why don't you stop sharing? If anybody has any immediate comment.
Looks great. Looks great.
Thank you.
Aesthetically
Yes,
pleasing.
nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, Colleen has really done a lot to jazz us up a little bit. So, that concludes all of the COG reports.
Awesome. Nothing left?
Nothing from me.
Okay, well, happy Thanksgiving. Everyone's favorite, well, maybe not everyone's favorite holiday. My favorite holiday. Happy Thanksgiving,
Yes.
everyone.
Thank you, and thank to you,
Yes, happy
thank to everyone.
Thanksgiving.
And I
Happy
just want to,
Thanksgiving.
I want to remind everybody that December 13th is the steering committee / board meeting for December. So we will have a, if you're all obviously welcome to come December 13th and participate.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.
Evening,
y'all.
everyone.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Yes,
Thanksgiving,
happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
All right, see you at the turkey trot.